Hello.
All right, good day here for our confidence conversation with Idara. Today, the confidence conversation is with Elizabeth Fitzsimons, who I had the pleasure of meeting years ago when I completed the LEAD San Diego Impact Program. Fortunately for me, you were at the graduation ceremony and saw an opportunity for me to be interviewed along with the two CEOs that were going to be taking over for the combined organization. And that was the beginning of so many opportunities. And I still see having completed that program as one of the best investments I made in myself. And then meeting you as the VP at the time. And then, of course, you have since moved on to become CEO of your organization. But it has been such a pleasure not only to have met you professionally, but to have remained in contact. And I'm so excited to have this confidence conversation with you, Elizabeth. Would you care to introduce yourself even further to the audience, please?
Yes, I would be delighted to, Idara. And I remember that day too at graduation and watching your presentation and just thinking to myself, wow, I need to know this person. She is amazing. And so I am just so excited and honored to be here talking with you, one of my favorite people in San Diego. You are just such a light, Idara. I love what you're doing, and I'm just so glad to be here, and I'm glad to be your friend.
Thank you so much. Same. It's been that way really from the beginning. So the first thing I start with is defining confidence in a manner of speaking. How would you define or describe confidence?
Well, that's a really good, I would define it as knowing yourself and liking yourself and trusting yourself. I would also say that a big part of that is being kind to yourself, showing yourself the same kind of compassion and grace that you would show a friend, having faith in yourself. My favorite boss ever gave me the best advice that I still think about regularly. He said, have the courage to trust your instincts. And so I think that that's a hard thing to do, and it takes discipline because you can get kind of wrapped up in fear and sort of your own narratives about, that can be pretty limiting. So for me, I would say confidence is so much more a state of being than a matter of doing. Yes, competence brings confidence, but sometimes we can't always wait for the competence to come. Right? Especially when we're starting in a new position or taking something new on. So you kind of have to, for me, you have to get your being in order first.
Absolutely.
Right? The being informs the doing, and then the doing leads to the end result. But you gotta get your being straight first.
100%. There's so much wisdom in what you said. It's almost like we can take each of those sentences and have a separate conversation about it. I love that expression of having the courage to trust your instincts, because it may not necessarily, what you're thinking may not necessarily be supported by the things around you, but trusting yourself, liking yourself, and giving yourself grace. All great advice. And it's interesting that you mentioned the word competence, because it's become a byline on the page where I say confidence plus competence, because the two ideally would go together. But to your point, sometimes the competence and the skill come later.
Right.
So can you share a time when being confident made a difference in your career?
I think confidence has been key to my career. I've always gone really big, whether that was appropriate or not. I mean, it worked out well because I have a sort of a track record of applying for jobs that were kind of a big leap, and where I was sort of the out of the box candidate. I didn't have necessarily the resume or the experience of the other candidates, but I brought the ideas and the passion and the confidence and the energy to take things on and learn them and just figure it out. So it's funny because I have all this confidence when I'm going for the new thing, the new job or the promotion or whatever the big thing is. But then when, when I start the role, my confidence is like, ooh. So, you mentioned my new job. I'm the new CEO of Episcopal Community Services. And I started in this role in April. And I was just thrilled. This was just like, yes, this is coming home. This is where I'm supposed to be. And I felt wonderful about it. And then I got into the job and I was like, oh,
reality set in.
Wait, now I have to do the job, And it was like, I just was like a bit of a panic because it's so much. I mean, new jobs are brutal because it's all new and it's scary and different. But I mean, that's totally normal. And the key for me was leaning on my friends like you and, people I trust, my peers, my personal board of directors. And those people were really key for me when I started as a CEO. I would text, you and my CEO friends saying, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. What do I do? And I would get responses really fast saying, oh yeah, that's normal. Been there. You're fine. You got this. I have those days too. So just to have those folks that are there normalizing those feelings, like my husband will say, handle your business, and that just shifts me into action. Or a friend who just says, what are you talking about? And, oh, okay, yeah, I can do this. Okay.
It's really powerful stuff.
So yeah, I mean, confidence, I think it's a big thing. It's huge.
It is. And to the point that you made, the going for the next thing, the next big thing is tied to confidence. And when people are not feeling confident, they're less likely to even try. I'm sure you heard, and a lot of times this feedback is directed at women more so than male counterparts or applicants, to not look at the application as something where you have to check all the boxes, but to go for it anyway when you qualify for a portion of it. I'd even say if it's something you really, really want to do, just go for it. Don't think in terms of what you can do it. And ultimately, you are the thing. I can completely see someone sitting across the table from you and wanting to have you on their side, in that room, on their team, all of that, leading their team. And it makes sense to me. The other thing that you touched on, which was going to be my next question, at least you've answered a portion of it, which is how do you get your confidence boost if you need a boost or when you need a reminder? And you're talking about friends and your husband and your CEO counterparts and other people who you reach out to are a big part, because it's momentary. It's not a reflection of the whole thing, but in that moment when you need a boost, those people often are the reminder. They remember. It's like, you're amazing. We know this. You're capable. We know you can do this. And that comfort of, yes, it's perfectly normal. The reassurance in that moment goes a long way. I'm curious to know, is there any other boost or reminder that you use outside of what you've already mentioned?
First, I want to comment on what you said about women not going for positions when they don't feel that they check all the boxes. And one of the favorite parts of my career has been mentoring younger women and trying to then shaking them out of that mindset. Right. That they don't have to check all the boxes, that, oh my God, you would be brilliant in this role. And they go, oh, okay. And it's so powerful to have someone who's just like that, readjust that thinking, reevaluate that thinking. And why don't you just try it? Why are you leaving something on the table? Why are you saying no to something that's not even on the table yet? Like, let's get it on the table yet first, and then we can say no to it. Right. Yes. So helping others to be more confident, I think builds my own confidence. It's kind of like reciprocal, right? It brings me so much joy. I love 100%. Helping people around me realize how powerful they are. I love watching someone step into their power, to really own their power, and then do great things with it. I just love seeing the potential in people and then helping them see it for themselves. We can be so hard on ourselves. We're just so nasty to ourselves, right? We'd never say things to other people that we say to ourselves. And why are we talking to ourselves like that? And so that's something that I have had to work on over the years, is kind of getting myself out of those narratives. kind of the negative self-talk.
Yeah.
And I had this really bad habit of, after a big event or some kind of high stakes meeting that went well, I would celebrate it for a few minutes, but then I would find like that one thing that didn't go well, and I would just obsess about it. And then the whole thing was just ruined to me.
It takes away from the fun. Yeah.
Yes. And it erodes your confidence.
Yeah.
So I got to, it was just kind of a process of, that would come up and I'd say, oh, you're doing that thing again. You can
calling yourself out.
Yeah, you can stop doing that now. Yes, there was that hiccup and we'll fix that for next time, but overall it was great.
Yeah.
And so I think that, learning to talk to yourself. And I would say too, a trick for me, if I'm feeling a little bit low, well, exercise is key. Because you go outside or you start walking or whatever it is that you like to do, and your mood can just shift so dramatically.
Yep.
And my other trick is visualizing how something will go. If I have something that I'm worried about or not feeling 100% about, I just imagine it going the way I want it to go, and then imagine myself feeling so good afterwards because it went so well.
That's great. Picturing the desired outcome.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good one. I could see that.
It's really
too.
Powerful. It's really powerful.
It's almost like having the goal in mind. And because you have that goal in mind, you continue to work towards it. But all of what you said, again, it's like I can take each of those sentences and we can probably have a whole conversation about it, but it's really powerful stuff. That reciprocal nature of mentoring people, reminding people of their own, or showing people their own power and confidence, and how that helps you as well. It's one of the things that in having the confidence talk, it's one of the things I talk about when it's about doing good and how that does you good as well. Mm-hmm. Reminding people of their power, and that it's whatever it is, more often than not, it's temporary. You keep working on it. There are elements of confidence that are just part of you, the in you component. But there are also times when you just have to break out of a habit so that you don't allow something to erode your confidence. So the negative self-talk, and I'm going to note these things as I summarize this conversation, of speaking positively and also looking for a positive outcome. I've seen you time and time again empower people, pair people so that there's a sort of reciprocal positive relationship there. The other thing that I've seen you do time and time again, which has a fascinating way of just resulting in a positive outcome and moving things along, is asking questions. You ask powerful, relevant, invigorating, empowering questions. And it's really interesting because a lot of times there are questions. I know that you must, by virtue of your work, give direction as well, but you ask the question that sets things going. And when I say that, I'm not sure if you immediately think of examples of that, because in sitting in the room when I joined the board and got to sit and see you at work, that was one of the things that I noticed. It was very interesting, the power of just asking questions. So you're not necessarily going to be the loudest person in the room, the person speaking the most, but you ask a question that gets thinking going and eventually leads to an answer. I don't know if you picture what it is that I'm describing. Can you share a little bit more about that? Your question asking skill that results in action.
Yes. Well, I think there's a couple things. One is that I'm a pretty curious person by nature. And so I've always asked a lot of questions because I just want to understand more. I want to learn more. I want to understand what people think. And then I came to learn the power of kind of an open-ended question, especially a question that, like I was saying earlier, kind of shakes us out of the narratives that we have, right? Or some kind of thinking that we're entrenched in. And it can be a really simple question, just a what if question. I think sometimes in my career, I've been asked those kinds of questions and it's so obvious, but I wasn't thinking of it. And it's not that they gave me the answer. It was that they helped open my mind to the answer that was right in front of me.
Right.
And so sometimes those questions can be so powerful because it's just a little shift in thinking. But I think that the asking questions in a leadership role too is really powerful, because you're inviting your colleagues you're kind of enrolling them in the process, and you're getting them invested, right? And they need to kind of figure out the why and figure out their piece in it. And really everybody needs to come into it together. It's so much more productive, and you're going to get so many better ideas than if you just kind of like work in a vacuum and kind of like hand something on to be executed, right?
Yes. Thanks for taking the time to point out the impact, because that is indeed what I've seen. And when you call it out, describing, for example, the enrolling colleagues, or having people think through the what, the how, and connect those pieces, that is indeed what happens. But it sounds like you were going to elaborate on that a bit.
Yeah, I think it's a way up too of breaking through the how, because we tend to go into the how before we even think through what the brilliant idea is. And so, one of my favorite questions to ask my team is, if you had a magic wand, right? Because then that kind of removes the well, we can't do this because of this. We can't do that because of this reason, or we tried this before, or whatever the why it won't work. It just gets rid of that. Or, we don't have enough money, or if we had a magic wand, what would you do? And then they're like, oh, well then all of a sudden, like these brilliant ideas start popping. Like
barriers,
popcorn, right?
The barriers are removed.
And it's hard too. I have to remind, we're not talking about the how. We're not talking about why it won't work. Let's just let's stay up here right now. Get your magic wand out.
That's a good one. What if, and if you had a magic wand? I'm sure we can put these decals on walls to just serve as prompts to continue to remember. Sometimes by virtue of being experienced, being in the industry, the organization for a long time, it is easy to become too aware of why it won't work, or to think of the practical reasons and try to account for those before even thinking it through. That's a great reminder just to keep in mind in general, not to think first through of the how and how not, because that's often what comes with it. Okay, how are we going to do this is often, well, we can't do this because, but thinking of it more in terms of what is it we want to accomplish first, so we don't stifle these ideas. I'm picturing those as decals. What if, and if you had a magic wand.
And you can apply that to somebody's confidence and development as well.
Absolutely.
Like, why are you doing that? Like, what if you weren't scared?
Right.
What if this piece wasn't there?
Absolutely.
And then they say, well, I would do this. Well, then do it. Let's make it happen.
That's usually the answer. Then do it. Speaking of doing, what's your next bold move?
Well, have you ever seen people dance roller skating?
Yes.
Yes. So ever since I was a child growing up in the 70s and 80s, I did roller skate. I remember roller skating in the lobby of my dad's Chicago high-rise, okay? The doorman would let me roller skate in the lobby.
Very nice.
Ever since then, I wanted to learn how to really dance roller skate. And I'm now following this woman on Instagram who is learning how to dance roll. She's a yoga teacher and she's roller skating every day of the year. And I want to find a teacher and I want to learn how to dance roller skate.
That sounds very cool.
You want to do that with me, Idara?
Absolutely. Don't I always say yes? But here's the funny thing. Last week, I was telling someone how fun roller skating is. Last week.
Oh my God, this is meant to be.
I was waiting for you to finish.
Together.
I was waiting for you to finish. It's like just last week I was telling someone roller skating is so much fun. Now, unlike you, I know a little bit. I can stay vertical and move a little, but I did not roller skate when I was little. But I'm often convinced that I can learn anything. And it looks like fun. It looks like fun. So it's just interesting that you said that and you've been following someone who's doing it. And last week I was telling someone just how fun roller skating is. It's interesting. So yes,
We are
let's do
connected.
it.
This is meant to happen.
I mean, time and again, it's just, we have so much evidence of this. Yes, let's do it. And then when the time comes, I'll be able to update this post to say we did the roller skating thing, because
Yes.
now I'm just
I look forward to that.
Same here, same here. I'm looking forward to that. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. Always a pleasure. Every single conversation, time and again. But I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation about confidence, and it's given me more insight into your thoughts, your process, but also an opportunity to hear again some of what you have done. I look forward to even more of the bold moves beyond the dance, roller skating, and everything that you'll be doing and accomplishing. Thank you so much, and I'm hoping we get to do this again soon, teasing out one of those topics that you've mentioned.
I would love to do that, Idara. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for this forum to discuss such an important issue. I love what you're doing. Thank you for all that you do for all the people in your orbit and for our community. You are really special, and you have you're making such a positive impact on our community. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you so much. It is absolutely my pleasure, and I'm having a fun time of it too.
It shows.
All right, that's our confidence conversation for today, and I'm looking forward to the next one, and we'll see you then.